Here we are today with another teardown. Today we're taking apart this 6.2 liter direct injected V8. This is an L86, which is found in 2014 and later half-ton GM full-size trucks and SUVs. It's like the higher line, like the LTZ and Escalades and Denalis. I bought this core from another yard. I don't know whether it was installed and it was bad, or it could have come from a wreck truck and been bad. Like sometimes you buy a wreck truck and well, it's got a rod knock. I mean, you just don't know. This core has all of its parts on it. It's complete intake to pan. It has all of its accessories. It has an engine harness. It has a computer even. So I don't really know anything about it, but I think we're going to find out. So let's check this thing out. This is going to be the very first one of these I've worked on. So bear with me when I take this apart. There could be some oops, but we'll get it down. I also don't know if I'm going to take it completely apart. I think I'm going to leave the crank in the block if that all looks good. If the crank's damaged, obviously we'll take it out. But yeah, this should be pretty exciting. Well, I'm going to go ahead and get all of the external parts off, like the intake and the accessories, the exhaust manifolds. I'm going to get the harness out of the way. Nobody really wants to watch that, do they? I don't think so. Anyway, we're going to get that done. I'm going to get it on my table, and we're going to get cracking. Well, before bolts start flying through the shop, we're going to go ahead and take the plugs out of it and see what they look like. So as you can see, one of these plugs does not look like the other. This one, well, we're going to find some fun stuff inside. Well, let's go ahead and get the driver's side valve cover off. This was the side with the damaged spark plug. Oh, there she goes. Well, so correct me if I'm wrong. These are normal. This one, not so much. There's the push rod jammed between the rocker and the side of the cylinder head. And there is currently pieces of valve spring. And, ooh, look, there's part of the push rod. Cool. There's the top hat, and I bet you if I look hard enough, I'll find the keepers. Neat. Well, we didn't have to take too much time to figure out what was wrong. Let's go ahead and get the other side off just to keep this engine symmetrical. I figured we wouldn't have two with that issue. Well, let's go ahead and get the rockers out and see how much worse it can get. Always save the most broken for last. Ho, 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 ho. Well, that's pretty chewed up. Let's get the rest of these out of here. So I've got the rockers off both sides, and this has just gone from bad to much, much worse. As you can tell, the head is cracked at the rocker boss. It put so much force pushing the rocker in the wrong direction, wedging this destroyed push rod between the rocker and the cylinder head, that it cracked the head, which we kind of figured the head was junk. But if you notice, yeah, this one's a little shorter than it's supposed to be, and that's a completely different cylinder. So I bet you that valve's bent or has some debris damage. And then from the other side, we have this not so straight push rod with a very distinct metal impact mark on it. So I may get nothing off the top of this motor that I can sell, but let's keep digging. All right, let's uncover even more damage. Whew, let's see how bad it really is. Oh, please don't leak on me. So this is actually a lot better than I anticipated. This is obviously still pretty well destroyed. That piston's going to be totally useless, but the damage is centered around the center of the piston. So hopefully the block is okay. But now I got to show you what the head looks like because, well, it's pretty bad too. So I don't think I'll be selling this head. I think that one's done. I mean, I suppose you could fix it, but it's probably not worth the time investment. And that one that I thought had a bent valve, well, it looks like somebody dropped a bolt in when they were diagnosing. That's the only thing I can assume. I didn't find any missing bolts when I pulled the intake, but somebody dropped something, but I don't think that's what caused all of this. So this was a head that did not have valve spring damage, but it did have a bent push rod, so there could be some damage inside. Let's go ahead and pull these head bolts and uncover hopefully no damage. We'll see. Here goes something. Please don't leak on me. Oh, I said please even. Oh. So this side actually looks pretty decent. I don't see any signs of damage whatsoever. So maybe we'll get a block out of this. Let's go check out the head. The head looks pretty good too. All right, I've got the engine off of that little cradle, and we're gonna go ahead and pull the lifters out. This just fell out, so I think that's gonna have something to do with all of this, but let's go ahead and pull these out and see what the lifters look like. Those look okay. That's not okay. There's already some not okay. That one's fine. That's part of a lifter. Can it, will it come out? Ooh, it came out. So that's pretty messed up in there. That's a technical way of saying it. So we've really only got one failed lifter from that cylinder that blew up. So we're gonna go ahead and put this engine on its tail and rip the pan off. Hopefully we find no damage in the pan, but yeah, I've said that before. So I've got the engine on its tail, and this thing's leaving a really nasty mess on this table, but whatever, that's what floor cleaner's for. So we're gonna go ahead and take the last oil pan bolt out and see what lies behind this door. It doesn't have a gasket, it looks like it's got sealant. Oh. Well, that's not really appetizing. So that's cool too. The windage tray is built into the oil pan on this. Makes teardown a little easier. All right, let's knock some rods and pistons out of her, shall we? So all these pistons look all right. These are the 7 that did not make contact with a valve. I didn't see any broken ring lands or any other signs of contact with anything, but we'll get a better look once we run it through our parts washer. Here is the piston that did make contact with a valve. repeatedly. It's pretty bad. But I honestly am pretty impressed with how well that piston held up. I mean, we both, in the other videos, you've seen what the Gen 4 does when it makes contact like that with the valve. But again, it could have just been luck this time. This is so dirty, so messy. So we're gonna go ahead and set this engine down, pull the cam out, and I think that's where we're gonna stop, see if the cam's got any damage. Oh, I'm not going to play that game again. Those two together. Oh, look at that. Yeah, isn't that appealing? You hungry now? It's trash. Let's go ahead and get this cam out. But first, let's pull this. So before I get any further, I wanted to show you this. This is what the cam pushes up, which also pushes the high pressure fuel pump and creates the immense amount of pressure needed to get fuel through those injectors and into the combustion chamber. So that's the first one of these I've seen. Again, first LT style engine I'm taking apart. So we're gonna go ahead and take this single 13 out and hope that this comes out. Okay, time to get this cam out. Oof, almost took my finger off. So it might be hard to tell, but there's just a hair of wear. It might mean to rhyme, I won't do it next time. Right there at the tip of the lobe, that's the cylinder that came apart. But the rest of this looks pretty decent. And there's that, at the end, there's that strange, gigantic triangle lobe. And that's what pushes the high pressure fuel pump. So I wiped this cylinder down, check for any signs of damage, and there really are none. I think we got really lucky. Most of the damage was centralized to the center of the piston. And that kept the liner in pretty good shape. Well, that didn't really go the way I anticipated. I expected to find a broken piston or something that I've heard on the internet where they all break pistons or have cracked ring lands, but no, this one had a catastrophic valve train failure. I don't know if the spring broke, the valve spring might have broken first and the lifter failed because of that, or if the lifter failed and broke the valve spring. The results were the same. That head is completely junk. But I got a lot of good parts to sell. I'm happy the block seems to be okay. The crank looks good, and I've got one good cylinder head and all the parts that were on the outside of the engine. I really don't know what those parts are worth. This is the very first one I've taken apart. So when I go to price these parts, I'll probably just shoot from the hip and, well, let's see what sells. A couple notable differences between all the Gen 3 and 4s that I'm used to and this Gen 5, besides the variable oil pump and the injection system. The top head bolts, the 10s that are on Gen 3 and Gen 4, they don't exist on a Gen 5, but the bosses are there. They're just not drilled, and the block's not drilled for them, which was kind of interesting to see, but I guess they figured they didn't need them. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that video. I've got several more in the pipeline. The next one is likely going to be another SRT 8 6.1 liter Hemi. When those come in, I got to get those apart quick because the parts sell very fast and I'm always out of them. See you guys next time.